My name is Sonia. I'm standing here, in the middle of a room filled with shocked faces, the air thick with tension and disbelief. The folder in front of me, filled with evidence of betrayal, lies open on the coffee table. I look around at the people who were once like family to me, and then I turn my gaze to him, the man who was supposed to be my future. It all started a few months ago. I was engaged to Ryan, a man I'd been with for 3 years. We met through mutual friends at a rooftop party in the city. Ryan came from a wealthy family. His father was a strict businessman, always pushing Ryan to succeed in the corporate world. His mother was more nurturing but also very conscious of their family's social status. My parents, on the other hand, were simple and hard-working. My father was a mechanic, and my mother was a schoolteacher. They were warm-hearted and always supported me in my choices. Ryan was charming. He had a way of making people feel special without even trying. He remembered little things about me, like how I loved reading poetry before going to sleep and how I was allergic to certain types of flowers. When he proposed to me during a weekend getaway to a vineyard, I was over the moon. Our wedding was set to be in 8 months. We had booked a beautiful venue in the countryside, paid the deposits, and spent countless hours debating and revising the guest list. 6 weeks ago, on an ordinary Tuesday, I picked up takeout from his favorite Italian place downtown. The food there was always overpriced, but he insisted it was worth it. We were supposed to go over the wedding vendor options. The caterer had sent different menu options, and the decorator needed a decision on the color scheme by the end of the week. But when I arrived at his place, he was on his phone, typing furiously. His jaw was clenched, and his expression was cold. I asked him what was wrong, but he just waved me off without even looking up. 20 minutes passed, and the food between us got cold. Then he looked up and said, "My friends don't like you. So keep your distance from them." I was stunned. These were people I'd known for years. I'd celebrated birthdays with them, gone on vacations, and even helped some of them through tough times. I asked him which friends, but he just said it didn't matter and told me not to come to the gathering that weekend. There was no apology in his tone, just irritation, as if I was an inconvenience he'd finally decided to deal with. What he didn't know was that 3 weeks earlier, 2 of his closest friends had reached out to me. It started with Lily, his friend from business school. They had known each other for 10 years. Lily was always a bit reserved around me, like she was hiding something. She messaged me on a Thursday evening, asking if we could meet for a drink. I assumed it was about the wedding. When we met at a quiet bar, she looked terrified. Her hands were shaking, and she hadn't even touched her drink. "I'm probably breaking a code here," she said in a whisper, "but I can't let you go into this blindly. Ryan has been cheating on you with his ex-girlfriend, Ava, for months." My world stopped. She showed me screenshots, messages, and photos. The evidence went back to early April, right after we'd booked the venue. I didn't cry or yell. I just thanked her for telling me and asked her not to tell Ryan we'd talked. I needed time to process everything. 2 days later, another friend, Mia, confirmed everything. She had more details, more evidence. I realized then that Ryan's words that night weren't a spur-of-the-moment thing. They were a calculated move. He thought I was still in the dark, but he was wrong. For the next 3 weeks, I lived a lie. Every morning, I woke up next to a man who had been deceiving me. Every kiss felt like a lie, and every "I love you" was like a knife in my heart. But I didn't confront him. I watched and waited. Mia told me that Ryan had been calling Ava his escape. It seemed that Ava wasn't just a mistake. She was his backup plan, something exciting he could turn to when the pressure of our upcoming wedding became too much. With me, Ryan talked about buying a house, starting a family, and building a stable future. With Ava, he talked about freedom and the good old days. I decided I wouldn't let him see me break down. I hired a private investigator, a woman recommended by a family friend who was a divorce lawyer. I told her I needed facts, timelines, locations, and the frequency of their meetings. She nodded and said she'd need 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks were the most surreal of my life. On the surface, everything was normal. I texted Ryan good morning, asked about his day, and listened to him complain about work. We still talked about honeymoon destinations, as if nothing was wrong. The investigator called me on a Monday morning. "I'm done," she said. When I met her later that day, the folder she gave me made my hands shake. There were records of hotel bookings across the city, always during lunch hours or early evenings when he said he was working late. There were also security camera footage from my apartment, showing him using his key code when I was out of town. The photos weren't explicit, but they didn't need to be. There was Ryan kissing Ava in a parking lot, and her car parked outside his apartment. Dinner receipts from places I'd never heard of. And it was still happening as recently as 5 days ago, the day before he told me his friends didn't like me. That night, when he asked why I was quiet, I just said I was tired. I let him kiss my forehead because I knew this wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about taking control. Over the next 2 weeks, I started to quietly dismantle our life together. I contacted the wedding vendors one by one, pretending to deal with scheduling issues. The venue coordinator was sympathetic and offered to transfer the deposit to a future date, but I declined. The photographer refunded a portion of the money, and the DJ offered credit. The caterer was a bit more difficult, but I managed to get some of the money back. I also looked into our joint bank account. I noticed small charges under $50, parking, coffee, and dinners at places I'd never heard of. Once I knew where Ava lived, it all made sense. Our money was not only paying for a wedding he was sabotaging but also funding his affair. I opened a new bank account and started moving my money gradually. I changed passwords for all our shared accounts, including streaming services and grocery delivery. I also started moving my things out of his place, a box at a time. I redirected my mail to my parents' address and removed my name from the lease renewal he was planning for us. He didn't seem to notice. In fact, he seemed happier and more relaxed as I distanced myself from his friend group. It disgusted me that he didn't look guilty but rather relieved. Then, he casually mentioned a dinner party at his place. He said it was just a small gathering of his inner circle, and of course, I wouldn't be there. I stirred my coffee slowly and said, "Actually, I think I should come." He froze. His face went pale, and he stammered, "I told you they don't want you there." I replied, "Funny thing, 2 of them specifically asked me to come. They said they missed me." His face drained of color, and he started to backtrack, saying he might have misinterpreted things. That night, after work, I sat in my car, looking at the investigator's folder. It was my weapon. I wasn't going to confront him in private where he could manipulate me. I wanted witnesses. On Saturday, I showed up at his place with a bottle of expensive wine, the kind he always saved for special occasions. When I walked in, the room went quiet. Conversations stopped mid-sentence, and everyone looked at me in shock. Lily and Mia visibly relaxed when they saw me. Ryan, on the other hand, looked like he was about to collapse. I calmly set the wine on the counter and said, "Thanks for having me. I thought we should clear the air." I waited until everyone had a glass of wine in their hands. Then I placed the folder on the coffee table and opened it page by page. I showed the screenshots, messages, photos, and hotel receipts. I said, "I was told I'm the problem, that I make things uncomfortable. So, can someone explain why?" The room was dead silent. Someone's phone buzzed, but no one moved. Ryan finally spoke, accusing me of going through his phone. I replied, "Your friends cared enough about me to tell the truth." He turned on Lily and Mia, angry and panicked. But I cut in, "You were planning to marry me while sleeping with your ex-girlfriend in my apartment, using our joint account to pay for hotels." I slid the bank statements forward, showing the charges. He tried to speak, but I didn't let him. "You isolated me so they wouldn't talk. You told me they didn't like me so I'd disappear quietly while you kept both lives intact. His ex-girlfriend's name hung in the air. He tried to say it wasn't what it looked like, but I said, it's exactly what it looks like. And what hurts isn't even her. It's that you lied to my face every day and made me feel crazy for noticing. I reached into my bag and pulled out the engagement ring. I placed it on top of the evidence. The sound echoed in the room. We're done, I said, and I walked out. Behind me, the room erupted in chaos. Questions, accusations, and disbelief filled the air. I didn't look back. Within 48 hours, everyone knew. Half of his friend group cut him off. Ava disappeared, blocking him and everyone else, claiming she didn't know we were still together. He called me 63 times in the first week, but I blocked him after 15 voicemails. His mother emailed me a long apology, and his sister cried on the phone, asking why I didn't tell them sooner. I told them I needed proof and to protect myself. He tried to spin the story online, but Lily shut it down with dates and screenshots. The post disappeared within an hour. A month later, I moved into a new, smaller apartment. It was quiet and it was mine. I kept the dog we'd adopted together. When he tried to use her as leverage, I handled it through a lawyer. The wedding would have been in 3 months. Instead, I used that money to take a 2-week trip to a remote mountain cabin. There was silence, no phone service, and I finally remembered who I was before someone tried to rewrite my reality. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Done being someone's backup plan. My life is mine again.